Aloha. Get it? Get it, honey? Let's tilt that down a little more. Going on my phone. I normally do these on my iPad and then transfer them. So we'll see how this goes. So we got a new tune here that I've been working on. Not one I wrote, but I'd like to write them like this if I could. It's written by Jimmy Smith of the not the organ player, back at the Chicken Shack, but of the Gourds. That's the gourd being, of course, what was I believe how they started making like banjos in Africa, and led to guitars and stuff, I guess. Didn't do any research on that, so. But the Gourds are a great band. In fact, and I don't know if this is related because why I'm doing this now, but they just had a reunion. They broke up a few years ago, and they just did a reunion shows in Austin, Texas, on the 12th and the 13th, I believe, of April. But I listened to them regardless of that, and they got two main songwriters, Kevin Russell, who's now his solo band is called Shiny Ribs. He's Shiny Ribs, I guess. And he's a good entertainer, good songwriter, good singer. But the other guy was Jimmy Smith, and he was like the bassist, but they all play guitars and everything. And Jimmy Smith, I would equate it. I would say Jimmy Smith is kind of, Kevin Russell's songs are a little more traditional, like just how you write a song. Jimmy Smith is kind of the weirder stuff. All his songs are kind of weird, and the lyrics and the singing styles and the vocalizations, like the way he sings them is integral. It's just very I really like it. So here's one of his songs, and it's this was the first album I got. Nope, that's not it. I got some visual aids. I did do some preparation here. This was the first album I got, and I'm not being paid for this. But the Ghosts of Hallelujah, and I believe it was from a review in Relics magazine, which is where I also discovered David Lindley, strangely enough. They had a review of the Live in Tokyo CD, and that was one of the greatest, most rewarding. These both have been very rewarding discoveries of mine. And I've tried to pass that on to people, but you just can't somehow make it happen. It's interesting because I'm trying to decide how I try and turn my siblings onto music. They're not into it as much as me, but I look at it, I'm putting the time in to save you time, and you should check this out. And it just doesn't work because they just still want to they still want to listen to Who's Next, which I may listen to that every couple of years, but how do you get them to take the step, they may say one of those big country acts, the new Luke Bryan, I guess, is one. I'm not even sure that those are the two names that go together there. But I'm not interested, and I'm aware of the music somewhat, and I just none of that. But how do you get them to understand that there's a next level of music that you can't describe, like Frank Zappa says? Talking about music's like dancing about architecture. But to get them to hear it, or to say you could see them live, and hopefully that they're yeah, this is deeper and more interesting and more rewarding and just better than what I allow myself. So that's but this is a great album. It's a great place to start. The Ghosts of Hallelujah. These have some great tunes. And here's the band. Jimmy Smith. There's Kevin Russell right there. And there's Jimmy Smith right there. And that's, I think, that's Claude Bernard. He plays the accordion. That's something Langford. I forget his first name, but he's the drummer. And that's Max Johnston, whose sister is what's his sister's name? Anyway, she's a folk singer who's more well known than him, or was back in the 90s. She's kind of faded into obscurity. Like Phreakin Johnson or something like that. I'm not even sure. That might be a guy. But anyway, he's got a sister who's was a known, I don't know how successful she is now in 2024. But just look at those pictures, and I tell, you know, for me, like just the how Jimmy Smith's picture kind of sums up like just that little something that he has that makes him unique, you know? And not to mention, look at the picture of Claude Bernard, and that's Jimmy Smith. That kind of sums it up. You know, he's the guy who does that. So this one's called Rugged Roses, and it's on that album. The best tune on there is Bean Bowl. Now here's the funny thing about Bean Bowl. I have his wife's email, just because she does like his merch, so I bought this album. This album, you had to go to his website, Jimmy Smith. And these are all the 50 songs, 2 CDs. And it's all like his demos and stuff. A lot of them showed up on these Gourds albums. And, you know, just some of the names of the songs. Window in the Can. Gather Up the Trouble. Big Santiago Bust. When Wine Was Cheap. Rat Scratch Fever. Bad Gumbo. Prayer That Fell Upon the Mirror. I Like Drinking. You know, that's him. That's kind of just maybe sitting around the table. I hope I'm not being too weird about another guy. He's just one of those interesting dudes, you know. Like, here's another picture of the Gourds from one of their albums. But there's Jimmy Smith. All the other guys are kind of just, here, we need a band picture. Jimmy Smith has got the roll of toilet paper, and he's like looking at, you know, he's just got that, he puts something into everything, you know. And here's another solo album of his. It's called Clocker Redbury and Dusty Slosinger, which is Jimmy Smith. Now here's the back picture, and those are both Jimmy Smith. And just, if you can just kind of understand, like one of them's the guy on the left with the beard, kind of maybe talking, and the other guy is like sitting there with a cup of coffee listening to him, and just everything about it just kind of has something that for me makes me just, it intrigues me, and it also just makes me smile, you know. And that would be, I think that's what you want, you know. Here's just, I just figured this was worthwhile, one of their album covers. Now, I believe that is a gourd or a pumpkin or something. Is a pumpkin a gourd or something? But anyway, it's just kind of weird. That's it for the visual assistance. So this is called Rugged Roses. And the key to this, nothing difficult, but it's how you sing it and stuff. So, and I'm just still learning it to sing it correctly, you know, without playing along with him. But I'm just too excited to, I just been really grooving on this last. Oh, and I was going to say, so I have Jen Smith is her name, his wife. And I've been trying to do Bean Bowl, which is one of those wonderful alliterations, you know, like in Dylan's It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, where it says, all your seasick sailors, they are rowing home. So it's the Bean Bowl. I'm just going to do a little bit because I can't figure out any of the lyrics. So I actually sent his wife an email to see if I could get the lyrics. And I just said, I'm like, yes, this is a left field email. I still have your email from ordering some CDs. And I'm just wondering, can I get the lyrics to Bean Bowl? Even if he makes up new ones and sends them to me. We'll see. That was 2 days ago. So, and I'm like, look, I'm not going to be a weirdo or pest beyond the weirdness of this email. But I really want to play that song. But it's like, step out of your bean bowl, baby, sometime after midnight. So it's great. Step out of your bean bowl, baby. It's just fun to say. Say it! It's good for you. It's fun. So this is Rugged Roses, which is maybe the next best one, which will change. Although I think Beanball may stay at the top because it's one of those wonderful songs. It's like, what the hell is this? So, tell me with your eyes, the silence let it ring, the precious humming of our hearts, the silence let it ring. I fucked it up already. Alright, let me start that again. That's what's tough. It's not difficult, but you gotta tell me with your eyes, the silence let it ring, the precious beating of our hearts, the silence let it sing. May our phantoms find their places, wherever that may be. Let only the sound of our love, dear, endlessly. I fucked that up. For you, for me, for a way we can hide, for a love that isn't there. We will watch the river flow past pretty flowers growing there, and the gravity and spin pass by freely in the wind, to find us quiet in the sunset, two old rugged roses planted firmly by the river bed. Let the tender petals fall like your long cascading hair. Let the volume of our moans deny the passing in the hour. Fuck that up too. From the center of my bones, I'll kiss you often and care. Not sure about that line. But not every kiss is placed so keenly for you. Totally fucked that one up. But not every kiss is placed so keenly for you, for me, for a way we can hide, for a love that isn't there. We will watch the river flow past pretty flowers growing there, to find us quiet in the sunset, two old rugged roses planted freely by the river bed. There was, yes, I screwed up a whole bunch of that. Not a whole bunch, that one line where it changes. But, so go listen to the original. And just because of the spur of the moment, I don't like to have anything too planned. In fact, knowing the song completely. But I do. But I you know, I don't know. You jump into this and that kind of comes up. You think you have it down and then you don't. But hopefully you got enough that you want to go check it out. The pictures or something helped make you want to go look at it. But just so rewarding, just wonderful. And that's what's great about this. You're not going to maybe get it the first time, folks. You know, a lot of the lyrics, you're like, what the hell are they singing about? What is he saying? The melodies are not going to be totally apparent the first time, you know. And that's the key. That's the difference between, one of the big differences between really good, rewarding, long-term, lifelong, pleasurable music and the Partridge Family, you know what I mean? I had to come up with something. I didn't want to go to that obvious one that we could use right now that millions of young girls are into. Because I don't mean to diss that, because of all those young people who are into that person, some of them are going to go deep beyond that, and it's getting those people into music. Like, I was just at Record Store Day in Orlando at Park Avenue CDs, and there was a big line waiting outside, you know, for if you didn't, they had a lottery to get like a time slot so you could get there early and make sure you get everything you want because it's limited. But so I'm stuck out. I was like, I'm not too worried about it. There's a few things, and the less they have, the better for my pocket. But they didn't have the Keith Richards that I wanted. But then I went to Rock and Roll Heaven around the corner, and they did have that. They didn't have much else, which was strange. But I got some good ones. Pink vinyl. In fact, I'll go through all those. But it's getting people into music and buying albums and stuff. So I think it's ultimately good. So this was the Keith, and this is just from 22. He did 3 tunes for some benefit in New York. It was on YouTube. It's still there. He does You Got the Silver Before They Make You Run and 999 from one of his solo albums. Ry Cooder, solo live, 1972. Gotta love Ry Cooder. If you're not listening to Ry Cooder, you're missing out. These are really the next level people that musicians listen to. And as bad as a musician I am, I'm still a musician. Robert Hunter, Tiger Rose, but alternates. And this is Little Richard. These were recorded in 1968. It's an EP. Stingy Jenny, Baby Don't You Tear My Clothes, Try Some of Mine. Those are the tunes. Harvey Mandel, he's a guitarist. Canned Heat. And in fact, he was the guy who more or less was one of the first people to do the tapping thing that Eddie Van Halen became very well known for. He was doing it like 10 years before that. But that's the way that works, you know. Here's Nick Lowe with Low Straight Jackets. Great band. They wear the Mexican wrestler masks. And here's John and Yoko, his last live performance. He did a bunch of benefit concerts at Madison Square Garden in 72. This is just an EP, 4 songs. Ronnie Wood from his 92 tour, which I saw at the Roxy in Boston, which is right behind the Green Monster at Fenway on Lansdowne Street. That was one of those, any fucking Stones related concert is like an event. And they're just masters at that, you know. They got the top of the line to make that happen. Marty Stewart, Kenny Vaughan on guitar, Chris Scruggs on bass, Harry Stinson on drums, and Marty Stewart. All instrumentals. That was one I want. The Nick Lowe and this Marty Stewart were my 2 priorities. Because they're kind of, you know, the Keith Richards, you know. And then this, I got it to Travelin'. This is the Travelin' McCurry's latest album. I do a White Wheeled Limousine, the Hornsby tune, and 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And I Like Beer by Tom T. Haole. So that was a good time. There was a John Lee Hooker and a Wes Montgomery that I kind of wanted, and neither place had them. And the guy at Rock and Roll Heaven, who I've seen, like I saw him at like a Richard Thompson show I went to at the Plaza in Orlando. And so we're on kind of that same. You get into it, you're going to end up there, hopefully. You know, you're not going to still be listening to, you know. But that, look, people got different priorities and kids. So that's why people like me are hopefully, you take that, you know, I don't know. I'm sure I say enough to piss people off, but still got great taste in music. But the Gourds, hopefully they start touring again. That'd be good. So that's how it happens. But yeah, I guess all the John Lee Hooker and Wes Montgomery stuff goes quick on the Record Store Day. Because those are people with money and the obsessives, you know. But there was a ton of people in line at the I think I put a video up on my other channel, The Pooh. check it out. And subscribe and thumbs up and recommend to your friends, hopefully. Just, if nothing else, I think I'm just off, my unique perspective, which I do think is unique. That's one thing I'll say about myself, that I'm not a follower. And I love Merle Haggard.